Hey, Rockets fans, we got a close one right here. Looks like the Rockets are gonna pull it out. Don't turn it over. Don't turn it over. So, got my other laptop. Got my iPad right here. Got my laptop. Trying to cover the Rockets game. I worked all day, so I'm still looking for a co-host. So I haven't really heard from Anthony. I really think he probably got offended because I posted on Bleacher Report I was looking for a co-host. But I mean, because Anthony's very busy with school, so I don't know if I'll hear from Anthony again because he did see that and took offense. I didn't mean no harm by it. I mean, I'm just trying to grow out. So looking for more people I could expand with who are more flexible on time. So yeah, looking for people. I haven't heard from Anthony, but looking for a co-host to help me run my show. Like I said, I'll give him all the glory that comes with being a part of this show. I'm not one who wants all the glory. It takes two to run a show. Hey, what's up, Derek? How you doing, brother? I don't know if you're a real Rockets fan, but me and my friend, you're a Rockets fan. So, like I said, I'm looking for a co-host. The job's open. I have a few candidates. Like I said, I really haven't heard from Anthony because he got offended. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing good. Have you seen the Rockets game? I know you're a big fan of my videos, Derek. Me and Derek used to work out a lot. Oh, you're a Spurs fan. So what do you think? What do you think about the Spurs this year, Derek? Yay or nay? Spurs are good. I mean, Spurs have been good for the last several years, but the Spurs, they're going through their real rebuild mode as well. Like us, I mean, we're pretty much on even fields. They have a lot of older players. I really don't know, why they still have LaMarcus Aldridge. I know that contract is very hard to move, and they have DeRozan. So, but like right now, what are you, a football dude or a Spurs fan? So, who's your favorite team? This channel is very diverse. I love talking about all kind of sports. From basketball, football. We'll even talk about a little bit of hockey. But MLB, boxing. I'm not a boxer personally. Like I'm not going to get in the ring. And expose myself to getting knocked out. I respect anybody who is willing to get in the ring and fight. Yeah, I'm a Texans fan, but I love I kind of grew up watching the Giants. I know, that's up east, but yeah, I kind of grew up watching the Giants because, when I was a kid, we didn't have a football team. Um, I liked a lot of the Giants players, especially like Eli Manning. Who's your favorite football team? I am a Texans fan now because unfortunately I'm a Texans fan. Oh, okay. You got a lot of teams. I see that. Um, I understand you're a Cowboys fan. I could respect that because you live in Texas. I know you said you're from the Valley. So but the Rockets are looking good. 9 seconds left. They don't have the ball. I got to give it up to these guys, these role players on the Rockets team. You know, I mean, I don't know if y'all can see. It might be blurry, but there's 9 seconds left, and I'll show that 9 seconds. You can see your Spurs, Derek. Like I said, I'm looking for a co-host to grow my channel, to put in work. I have a few candidates. There was one who said that, a gentleman I spoke to who went to the A&M, I think, and he said that he wanted to help my channel grow as well. Like I said, I haven't really heard from Anthony. I really don't know, where he's at. Maybe he got a lot of things going on. But like I said, I'm trying to grow this channel, even without my old co-host. But if y'all know anybody who's a Rockets fan as big as shoot them a message and let them know because I'm willing to listen. Yeah, so you're a Panthers fan too? Look, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. But, like I said, it's any given Sunday. Anybody could get knocked off. So the Rockets about to pull it off. What's up, bro? You all right? Like I said, I'm looking for a co-host. Like I said, look, I really haven't heard from Anthony. I posted on Bleacher Report. I was looking for a co-host. I didn't, because I know Anthony's very busy with school, and I think he got offended. So I really haven't heard from Anthony. Hopefully, I hear from him. Yeah, nah, bro. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers. I have an idea. So what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna go to the Toyota Center. I'm gonna pass out these little baggies. They'll have my business information. Like I'm just trying to grow this channel. Like I don't even look at it like I want to get paid. My main thing is, I mean, that's a lot of people's objective, but like I love talking about sports. I love talking about the Rockets, and I'm just really trying to like get it come up like not to come up financially because I'm good. I'm happy financially, but to come up and like, maybe this will come out and get a great opportunity. So the Rockets win. Great. The Rockets win. No James Harden, no problem. We can still get a W. Oh, wait, there's something going on. There might be a foul. I'm not too sure, but the referees are getting together and trying to figure things out. There might be a foul before the time went out. Like I said, overtime I'm fine with. So yeah, I'm looking for a co-host. Like I said, anybody who's knowledgeable and knows what they're talking about and who could, not necessarily take a back row. I would take, full control of the show, and I will make my co-host feel comfortable with whatever, we're talking about. I'll set them up for success. Me and Anthony had a great vibe. Like I said, I hope I haven't lost him. But if it is, if he got offended, I mean, like I said, I'm glad I didn't change the show to Adam, Kobe Tree, and Anthony Sweet show. I really was. I mean, but like I said, he was very busy with other things, and I understand that's life. He was just a co-host, but I was looking for another co-host on Bleacher Report, and he saw that, and I really can't control. Maybe he just hasn't been answering, but. I really can't control other people, how they feel. So the game is still going on, even though there's no time. There's something going on. So what do y'all think about James Harden getting moved? What do y'all think about that? Are Rockets fans still going to cheer for that? Are Rockets fans more happy that he's gone? I'm very relieved. I feel like they could actually just go out there and play 100% because when he was out there, he looked bad. And when he was on the court, the team looked better. Not necessarily saying they're better without him. It's just they're running more smoothly. And there's guys who are trying. And he wasn't trying. He wasn't running smoothly. You could tell he was irritated. You could tell, like, the lack of effort was just not there. The lack of effort was there. Like he was lacking. I don't necessarily know what he was thinking. I don't know why he wanted out. I know it had to do something with the organization and how they're controlling the virus and how they rushed James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Right? They forced them, not necessarily forced them, but they rushed them to get to the bubble. So the game's over. The Rockets won. So Christian Wood had an amazing game. I'm very proud of Christian Wood. He spoke highly about himself and the Rockets once James Harden got traded, and he's doing his thing. What y'all think about Christian Wood? Let me know what y'all think. But I am looking for a co-host. I'm looking for a co-host to grow with. To put in hours. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I really want to pay anybody. I haven't reached that limit yet. I really haven't thought about that. I thought me and Anthony could reach success together, but, I can't really control, like I said, another man's thinking. But, I said, I hope he ends up coming back because, like I said, I would never close the door on somebody who was already a part of the show, and I want to see him grow. So let's read the stat lines for tonight's game because the Rockets win, and I'm very happy. I don't know if that's gonna, but I remember Shane Battier said it's hard to win one game in the NBA, and that's true. It's hard to win one game. It's hard to win 5 games. I remember they went on a 22-game winning streak, and winning is not easy. So winning this game definitely showed that they have John Wall out, they have Eric Gordon, and they have one more player. He might be slipping my mind. Oh, Daniel House. So they have Daniel House, Eric Gordon, and John Wall, out for this game. So once we get them back, and you have these young players that are playing well, this is a defensive-minded team now. I haven't seen this team this well-rounded defensively in years. Like I haven't. Last year, you had a lot of 3D guys who were one-dimensional. That's all they could really bring to the table. Christian Wood is big time, and so is Tay. Yeah, now I agree. You get to look at what you have. What are you going to move on from? Like, you have a young team and you have pieces. So what are you going to keep? Because I don't necessarily see the Rockets keeping Victor Oladipo. I don't see them keeping him past the deadline, especially if he doesn't want to be here. And I'm going to let y'all know that Depot and the LeVert trade, it hasn't went through yet. So that could still be like, LeVert could still be a part of this team long term because I don't know how many years he's on his contract. I could look that up and let y'all know, but LeVert could be a part of this team. Now, I don't know if the Rockets will still keep him. They could still trade him. Now, I see the Rockets, if they get the Depot trade, Victor Oladipo, and they bring him, I could see them trading with Denver and trying to get Michael Porter Jr., a player like that. I know he said that he wanted to go to Miami, but that could be a possibility. Now, what does that mean? Is that Tyler Hero? Maybe they don't even trade with Miami. Maybe they let that play out. Maybe Denver is like persuaded, like, hey, look, Michael Porter Jr. is a liability defensively. Michael Porter Jr. is a liability defensively. I mean, big time. I mean, when he's out there, he has potential because you need defensive stoppers when you're a playoff team. Michael Porter Jr. has been in a position that he's not necessarily going to grow. He needs to go to a team like when we first got James Harden. When we first got James Harden, it was Harden's team. He did whatever he wanted. I mean, from scoring to playing defense. And, yeah, eventually he started getting burned out, because the Rockets asked so much of him. But like I said, Michael Porter Jr. needs his own team. He doesn't need to be a part of Denver necessarily because they're a championship team, and Michael Porter Jr. needs to spread his wings. It's just like the Thunder situation. Let me get my other computer because I think I might put on another game right now. So I got 2 laptops and an iPad right now. So I'm an IT guy right now. So this weekend I'm gonna get more lighting over here. I'm gonna add a few more things. I have a whole side of the house that I'm just gonna try to expand. I'm gonna move my desk and I'm gonna try to expand this whole channel. Like I said, I'm looking for a co-host. My last co-host, I put it on Bleacher Report. I was looking for a co-host, but more like a group. I don't want to go into details on Bleacher Report because you really can't put that much information. You're very limited if you're going to post a comment. Like I said, my co-host saw that. My original co-host, like I said, I love Anthony, but he got offended. He's been very busy with school. I know he has his own life. And, I love Anthony. I hope he didn't get offended. I hope he comes back. I've never said anything bad about Anthony to him or behind his back. Like I said, I just don't know how people think, especially, Anthony lives in Florida. I have no, personal relationship with him besides sports and trying to grow this channel. And he was on board. But like I said, he was always busy. So I had to do what I had to do. And it wasn't a shot at him at all. And I guess he got offended. But, if he does come back, I am trying to grow the show. And I probably got a few people here who want to be a part of the show. Not necessarily take the shine away from me. I love to share the camera. Hey, look, we're getting more views and we're growing together. That's all I want. I spoke to another gentleman who already had a YouTube channel, I don't necessarily know what he wants to get out of this. I don't think he wants to get the same that like I got out of it, or I am getting out of it. I think he wants more to get more noticed. I know he does. This gentleman puts in the work, but he's he's. I know he works at the gym, so he posts him working out at the gym, and he posts like videos of Rockets, and I understand that, but I don't necessarily know if I want to cross that path of a gentleman like that. No offense, like to whom's his own. I respect that. But this YouTube channel is strictly sports. I love my family, and I'll mention that too. But like I said, I'm trying to grow sports wise. I don't care who's on this show, as long as I can vibe with them. If they're willing to put in the work, we could grow together. And I guess that's just something Anthony didn't really necessarily want to do. He's in college, so I respect that. And I try to work with his schedule the best I could. But this is like a job for me, low key, because I love it. I love coming here. I love spending time with my family. I love working, and then I come here and I get to do this. It's a blessing. I just want to grow. I mean, you put in the work, you just want to see the success. So right now we got a few games going on. We have Denver versus the Warriors. I can watch any game I want. I don't have League Pass. I don't have nothing, but there is an app online. There is a site online. You can watch any game you want. And I mean any game you want. I don't care if you're watching cricket. So you got Indiana versus Portland. I think I'll watch the Denver versus Warriors. Like I said, I really want Michael Porter Jr. The Rockets have a lot of draft picks. So this means, all right, the Rockets could draft well. I think that's the route they're going to go. This is what I picture. All right, this is what my future. I'm have a crystal ball in front of me, and I'm going to try to predict what the Rockets are going to do. I see them, if the trade does go do it with Big, like I said, they're going to trade him. And if they keep him all year, that's stupid. But if they keep him, they're not bringing him back because Tillman Batista is very cheap. I mean, he mentions it as much as possible. Anytime this man gets a platform, he mentions that he's financially screwed from the pandemic. So this means we won't keep Victor Oladipo. We'll trade him for more assets. We're going to trade PJ Tucker for more assets, not a player in particular. But you could package that to like a Denver, a Miami. There could be another team out there, that maybe Philadelphia, who was really high on PJ Tucker, especially that you got Daryl Morey out there. Daryl Morey's fishing around. Daryl Morey's the type of person who's going to make a trade. If Daryl Morey doesn't make a trade, this man doesn't feel like he's progressing into the fact that he wants to win a championship. This man wants to stay active. He wants to make moves. He's going to find out if he's going to try to find the best available players that got cut at the deadline or after a team accumulated a several amount of players and they got cut. Like we cut Bruno Caboclo. If y'all didn't know, Bruno Caboclo is not a part of this team now. Look, I'm not a Bruno Caboclo hater, not at all. I thought, he could have been successful, and it wasn't necessarily on him. I don't know. I wasn't a Caboclo hater. I'm for real. I don't hate nobody. It's hard work, especially James Harden. His effort affected the other players around him. That's why Christian Wood looked bad at times. He looked good in the first two games because Harden was vibing with him. And then it just looked like Harden checked out. And now I'm not counting Christian Wood's success on James Harden. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying he is the leader of the team. He has the ball in his hands majority of the time. And, that could affect a player as a Christian Wood. Christian Wood didn't really necessarily know what to do when he had the ball in his hands. He didn't know to pass it back to James Harden or force a shot. And I think that's the thing with James Harden. James Harden for the longest, I think he wants other players to do their thing, their magic. But you got to move around. I mean, you can't play ISO ball. You can't do things like that. That's not a recipe for success. It just isn't. That is old school thinking. You know what I mean? Old school thinking. Allow another top player to do his thing. Oh man, this thing's annoying. It's not allowing me to lower it down. I might have to go to another video. Yeah, but look. I think when the Rockets, when they had Russ last year, this was what happened. James Harden took a step back and allowed Russ to play his game. It was vice versa. So what that means is, like, okay, you do your thing, then I'm gonna do my thing. Nah, that's not how basketball is won. They might have won because they're very talented, but this is how. Hey, look, we do our thing. I cut, I move, I pick, I do whatever because you're fluent. It's a team game. You want to take every possession as a plus. You don't want to take a negative. You don't want to take a lapse. What that means is you want to utilize every possession to your advantage. Because say you get a stop defensively and you get the ball back and you don't score. Okay, well, you get the ball back again. You don't score again. So you're playing defense. They're eventually going to score. When they start scoring and you can't score, that was the thing with the Rockets. I mean, we lost Austin Rivers. We lost Jeff Green. There was so much conflict with that team last year in the bubble. They never even played DeMar Carroll, which he had experience guarding LeBron James and with the Raptors. Now, I don't necessarily was a big fan of DeMar Carroll, but I knew, he could have helped guard LeBron James. LeBron James was getting his way, and he was getting guarded by Eric Gordon. So DeMar Carroll could have been benefited on the court. I really didn't see the bigger picture for Mike D'Antoni and what he was doing in the bubble. But, all I could say is, they're not a part of the team no more, and we get a fresh, whole new start. When I say a fresh new start, we got a new GM, Rafael Stone, who's been a part of the building, who's made trades with Tillman. So he's observed, but he's taken a whole new route. Tillman was different. Tillman wanted to trade young assets. He wanted to trade young picks that haven't even accumulated to anybody yet. This is different. Rafael Stone, he's went out and got Christian Wood, a young player, as you've seen, who shined tonight. Like you said, William Adams. He shined tonight. And all the other guys who played hard, you saw promise. This is the funnest I've seen the Rockets this year. Like, in my opinion, there was no superstar on the court, but I saw like guys hustling. I saw DeMarcus Cousins play really, really well. That's the thing. You're not going to get the best out of players if there's one guy who's slacking ass. It's just true. Every guy out there has to put a forth effort to, accomplish one goal. And that's not necessarily win a championship. That is to win a game. There was a lot of talking. I've seen John Wall and James Harden talk so much on the court. I felt like John Wall was trying to convince James Harden to buy in, which that's not his job. He has to go out there and do his own job. I shouldn't, if I was a basketball player, my job is not to convince my teammate, please buy in, please, please do this, please do that. That's just going to get old. That's just, that's not basketball. Even Kobe, Shaq had their issues. I don't put this in the same situation, but if you're not a championship team, you shouldn't have those issues. If you're having these issues, then you're a bottom feeder team. And that's exactly what the Rockets were. As of right now, they're still a bottom feeder team, but you don't have a headache. All these guys can come to work and play hard, and they could say we lost because we lost. We didn't lose because of so-and-so, specifically James Harden. James Harden, gave us 8 strong years. I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm not here to, like I said, this channel is not here to bash about Russell Westbrook, James Harden. They had their downfalls, especially with this team. They might not have been on the same term with this organization. We had two two owners, and we had two situations that James Harden's been a part of. You know, there was a time when we had Leslie Alexander and James Harden. You know, Leslie Alexander was the original owner when we got James Harden, and Daryl Morey was a big part of that. When I bring up Leslie Alexander, he blew up James Harden. You know, he made James Harden who I'm not going to say that. He didn't make him who he was, but he gave him the keys to the organization. When we got Tillman, it was almost the same, but a little different. James Harden was on the back end of his, passing his prime, he was either in his prime or, kind of passing his prime. So Tillman really wanted to put a fire under the whole team's butt. He put a fire under Tillman's butt. He put a fire under James Harden's butt. And when Russ and Chris Paul, et cetera, Clint Capella, I don't necessarily say we should have traded Clint Capella. And yes, I love the arrival of Christian Wood, but, I think Clint Capella got a lot of blame for a lot of stuff that, wasn't necessarily his fault, Yes, I like the addition of Rocco at that time, but, it wasn't because we needed a center. I mean, in the bubble, you saw that we needed a center. They needed a forward who could stretch the floor, who could kind of rebound. And they thought that was P.J. Tucker. Mike D'Antoni's thinking was, oh, well, we have one. We have P.J. Tucker. No, that's not. P.J. Tucker is a 35-year-old man at that time. He was 35 at that time, and I think he's 36 right now. So, no, it's not a 35-year-old. This is what you need to do. You should have never traded for Russ. You should have never gave Chris Paul that contract. You should have never traded for Chris Paul, maybe. I mean, it's unfortunate that he went down with the injury, but they really needed a wing or a big man at that time. That was the necessary need when we lost to the Spurs, because we had two shooting guards. We had Eric Gordon and we had Lou Williams. We had Patrick Beverley. We had James Harden. We had Ryan Anderson, Clint Capella, and we had Trevor Ariza. Now, when we had Trevor Ariza, I love Trevor Ariza, but look, we had an opportunity to get Jimmy Butler. When we had Jimmy Butler, we had the opportunity. We didn't want to give up Eric Gordon. I was very mad when we didn't get Jimmy Butler. Excuse me. He had a bunch of conflict with the Timberwolves at the time. I think we had already made the trade for Chris Paul already. So at the time, you had Chris Paul, Jimmy, Clint Capella, maybe Kenneth Reed, and so-and-so, I can't really remember, but all the role players. But I know we had a chance to give up, I think it was Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, and a few first-round draft picks to get Jimmy Butler. Looking back at it, the Rockets should have traded for Jimmy Butler, because it's a possibility that Jimmy Butler could still be here, and James Harden. Both those guys could have still been here right now. Even Chris Paul, Chris Paul could have. You could have look. Chris Paul is past his prime, big time. But what could have been? That's the biggest question. And even Clint Capella could have been a part of this team as well. Wood called Shaq a casual. Shaq apologized to Christian Wood for not being too familiar with his game. Wow, so Shaq is out here just talking. So I guess Shaq said something about Christian Wood, and Christian Wood called him a casual. So, yeah, I mean, look, expect a lot of big games from Christian Wood. Expect Christian Wood to get beat up a little more. Defensive teams, yeah, they're already keying in on him, but they're going to key in on him more. So what are your thoughts about this team long term? Do y'all expect Victor Oladipo to stay on this team? Do y'all expect John Wall to play like an all-star level? I know he's having knee issues, and I even seen him on the sideline in this game in regular street clothes rubbing his knee. So I don't know how severe his knee issues are. I hope they're not that bad. I mean, I'm a big John Wall supporter. Even when he was with the Washington Wizards, you never want to see a guy go down for 1 or 2 years. And never, because it's like the Derrick Rose situation all over again. I love Derrick Rose, but he has came back to form. but at what age? The league has passed him by. But I mean, he has developed in his game to a sense of, he's became more a distributor. He can hit the 3-point shot. I got to give it up to Derrick Rose to still stay relevant because, the odds were all against Derrick Rose. He went to New York, which was a horrible move. I think he got traded. So he got traded to New York. He went to can't really remember where he went next, but I know he did get traded to Utah. Utah cut him, which was a horrible move. So they cut Derrick Rose, said that he wasn't worth it. So he ends up signing with the Timberwolves, and he changed his whole career. I got to give it to the Timberwolves. They're a horrible, organization known for losing, but, they did give him a chance, and he did take it. In Detroit, he's out in Detroit. He's in no man's land. I wish no player goes to Detroit or Cleveland, for real. When Jared Allen got traded to Cleveland, I was like, damn. They said they wanted Cleveland said they wanted to try to convince him to come in free agency. They wanted to try to attract Jared Allen to convince him to go to Cleveland. Bro, like I'm a promise. If I was a free agent, I would not go to Cleveland. There's nothing there. LeBron James has been gone for years. They might have a young nucleus of players, but they have no direction. So I feel bad for Jared Allen. I really wanted him to come to Houston. Look, I wanted LeVert. This is what I wanted when we were talking to Brooklyn. I didn't really like the trade at first, but the Rockets in the beginning of the year, in the preseason, I didn't like the trade. I was like, hell no. I do not want to trade with Brooklyn. I do not want a bunch of role players. But I knew what Caris LeVert could bring. When I watched him this year, I was like, all right, look, we need a center. We need a shooting guard to replace James Harden. Caris LeVert, Jared Allen would have fit in right. Really nice next to Christian Wood. But I think Silas really wants Christian Wood at the center position just because he has advantages. He has his advantages defensively and offensively, especially offensively. He could beat bigger centers. Power forwards, that kind of loses his disadvantage. But like I said, I wanted LeVert because, if you trade him, see, you only make a trade getting Depot for Caris LeVert if you're trying to save money. That's my opinion. That's how I see it. That's how I see it because we already know, excuse me, I got to charge my computer, but we already know Tillman Fertitta, like I mentioned, he's cheap. I mean, he doesn't want to spend no money. So you're going to allow a young rising superstar, not a superstar, but a young talent. I don't know what the Rockets really see LeVert as, but I see him as a young, up-and-coming player who's hungry. He has a lot of talent. I wanted him. Look, Depot's on a 1-year contract. He doesn't even want to be here. So, like I said, that trade is still pending. In my opinion, I hope it falls through. I know there are some draft picks who were involved. I don't necessarily know who was who. I thought it was just a straight-up trade for LeVert, for Depot, between us, because there's 4 teams involved. But I thought the Rockets traded Depot for LeVert to Indiana, and that was it. No draft picks were involved. I think Indiana got a second-round draft pick from somebody. But if the trade falls, because these things, anything can happen. They're not, once a player gets traded, it has to be official, like after 3 days. They got to get the money. Like, the money's right. I mean, but they had to get everything's situated. So things could fall through. Rockets could have a change of heart. Indiana can have a change of heart. Like Rockets, like I said, Rockets didn't really know Depot didn't want to come here. So Depot said, I don't want to come to Houston. Like, I want to go to Miami. So maybe the Rockets might say, look, we still make a trade and we trade him. That's a possibility. Like you said, he wanted, like I heard, he wants to go to Miami. Like, everybody knows he wants to go to Miami. But as of right now, you have LeVert. I think LeVert has a higher ceiling because, Victor Oladipo had an injury. But you could trade LeVert. I mean, you could trade him. I know there will be a team out there who is willing to make a a gamble on Levert, and I think you get a better player than Victor Oladipo. At least if the team you're trying to trade with really looks at Depot and says, we want Depot, but we don't have the assets to get him. We don't want, this is what I think. The Rockets might low key be talking to somebody already, say, look, you go get Depot, and then we'll trade with you for Depot because we don't want to give them so-and-so. Like they probably can't make a trade with Indiana. That's just not how some teams can't do trades with them because they don't have the financial or they rather do trades with the Rockets because, they might want other assets for the Rockets. That'd be a possibility. PJ Tucker, just Sean Tate might even get traded. There's nobody safe on this team. The only player I could say that's safe on this team, John Wall, because of his contract, and he's even tradable because he's playing well too. With his knee injuries, I don't know. But like I said, John Wall is tradable. It's just that contract. But Christian Wood is safe. Okay, I'm going to say who's safe. Christian Wood and John Wall. That's it. And DeMarcus Cousins because his contract is not guaranteed. But I think everybody's tradable. Sterling Brown has raised his value after even tonight. Just Sean Tate has risen his value. I mean, I got to give it up to Silas for really getting the best out of these players who are like no names. I mean, just Sean Tate's a rookie who was overseas, and Sterling Brown, who was a part of the Milwaukee Bucks, was cut. Darvin Ham, an ex-player and an assistant coach for Milwaukee, called Silas and said, "Hey, look, you need to sign this guy. He's a free agent, but he's a great player. There's just no room on this team. We're going a different direction." Because I think that's the original reason why he got cut, just because, they're going a new direction, Milwaukee. So the Rockies got the opportunity from Darvin Ham, and they picked him up, and the rest is history. But like I said, he could be a trade asset. Who else? Nwaba, I think you picked his value up. I think that's pretty much it. Eric Gordon will be kind of a hard player to trade, but I don't see him being on this team either. I think we're low-key in a rebuild. I think the Rockets ain't going to admit it because it's just not the good thing to say. They're going to have a competitive team for right now to build around Christian Wood, but maybe at the deadline, they blow it up. I know for sure once the season's over, they're going to blow this team up. There's no way I see John Wall on this team for 2 more years. He has a 2-year contract. I think he's going to play great. I think he's going to pick up his value, and I see him getting traded to a team. I don't know what team that is because it's going to be hard to take on that contract, but he will get traded to a team. Now, it could be like a Miami team. I'm not saying Miami, but a Miami team in a sense like, oh, you could trade Iguodala, Kelly Oubre, maybe somebody else. I really don't know how that would work. So they would take on John Wall, and like we could give them like Victor Oladipo. I really don't know his contract too, but that's something that is a possibility. And Eric Gordon, I really don't know what to say about Eric Gordon because I like Eric Gordon. I really thought he played well when James Harden was even a part of this team, and he could probably even play better. But he's an older player, can't shoot the ball. Very streaky player. Excuse me. I just don't know the market for Eric Gordon. I don't know who wants to take a chance on him with his injury history and he's proven he was one of the top players versus the Warriors, if not the second top player for the Rockets at times. And I miss that player. And so far this year, I've seen him play to that level. He played horrible against the Lakers, but I don't really blame that on him. It was just the whole team. So I'm not going to hold Eric Gordon accountable for anything against the Lakers. I'm not going to hold nobody accountable for the Lakers games. That was all because of James Harden's attitude. And I see why Boogie got ejected. Who wants to be a part of that? Who wants to be a part of a situation where, hey, look, I don't want to play because y'all suck? Like pretty much he's summing it up. Like James Harden summed it up saying like, these guys suck. We can't win. I need to be traded. I need to do what's best for me. And I think that's the thing with James Harden. I think that will always be the narrative on him. I need to do what's best for me because you know, y'all, y'all need to provide for me. If you're not providing for me, then I need to do what's best for me. I need to go establish myself. I need to go get my championships. And I respect that. I understand, this is a business. You got to do the best to, make your legacy because you only have a short career, every season, could be your last, like Derrick Rose, like I said, and he did bounce back, like I said. But I love Derrick Rose, but James Harden, Chubby Harden, he's just trying to make best of his ability. Now, do I think Brooklyn has a chance to win a championship? That's a big if. Offensively, yeah. I mean, I think they could beat any team in the East, even though the East is more. The East, and for the first time in 21 years since Michael Jordan, the East is a better division, the conference. It's the more competitive conference in 21 years since Michael Jordan. Now, you could say LeBron James, but I'm saying overall, the whole conference overall is better than the West. Excuse me. Now, do I think Brooklyn's the best team in the East? Nah, I'm not going to say that. Now, I think they have the most star power. Now, star power can win you games. Star power can win you. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers with Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, I'm not comparing this team, the Lakers, to Brooklyn, but I mean, you got Kevin Durant, who's a championship, a two-time championship, Kyrie Irving, a champion, who I don't even know. There's a big question mark if, Kyrie Irving's even bought into the team, which I feel bad for Steve Nash, who was, brought in because Kyrie Irving wanted him. He vouched for him. But now you got James Harden. James Harden is, he was one of the steal lead. He led the league, I think, if I'm not incorrect, in steals last year. And he played great defense in the bubble. So I know he's capable of playing defense. It's the center position. That's where Brooklyn had kind of messed up. Brooklyn traded Jared Allen. Jared Allen would have been so efficient for them. I just don't know how you let Jared Allen go. Now, maybe they knew Jared Allen was going to leave anyways because he was a free agent. So I don't really see – look, I'm not going to get mad and lose sleep over that Jared Allen didn't come to the Houston Rockets because he was a free agent. So you don't want to rent a player. Now, you could trade him like you want to do with Victor Oladipo, but you don't want to necessarily get in a situation where, okay, you got all these one-year deal players that are going to get traded at the deadline, or then, because you're not going to get nothing back if you wait to the end of the year because they're free agents. They're unrestricted free agents. Like I said, I could look at it and say, look, I'm glad they didn't get Jared Allen. I'd rather get a pick. So I'd rather have LeVert. Who do I think will stay? If you're just joining us, MG, I had said Christian Wood is probably the only player I see long term on this team. Christian Wood, and it's going to be hard to trade John Wall's contract. That John Wall contract is one of the, not necessarily I'm going to say one of the worst. It was one of the worst in the NBA just because of the fact that he was out 2 years. We haven't seen what he has done, but he's playing at an all-star level again. So there will be teams, I think, not necessarily at the trade deadline looking to trade for John Wall. Like I said, he's on a 2-year contract. But once he's on his final year of his contract, I could see a team making a trade. Now that helps a team out. A player on a 1-year deal means a team inheriting him gets all that money off their books, and now they can go out and get another free agent. So, 1-year contracts are very beneficial to a team. That's why PJ Tucker, he's on a 1-year contract. He was very mad that, the Rockets didn't re-up his contract, but I'm glad the Rockets didn't. So if they gave him a 2-year contract, he'll be harder to move. Nobody wants a 36-year-old player, even though he's very good. He'll be easier to move and at the trade deadline, or maybe even sooner. So I know there are suitors for PJ Tucker, but like I said, you might be able to add Victor Oladipo to that. So, like I said, I'm really hoping that we make a trade with Denver. We need a young star now, right? We need a young star to say, hey, this is who we're going to build around. You need one guy. Like, even though you have players now like John Wall, Christian Wood, but you need one more player like a Michael Porter Jr. Then you go into the draft and say, we're going to build around these guys, just like what Boston did. Boston drafted Marcus Smart. They drafted Marcus Smart. They drafted Jaylen Brown. They drafted Jason Tatum. And I got to give it up to Danny Ainge for making, he finessed Brooklyn. And I hope the Rockets finesse Brooklyn again, because you know what they say? History has a chance of repeating itself. And I'm hoping that this happens again, because when Brooklyn traded with Boston a few years back, they got so finessed, they end up getting all those players, a Jaylen Brown, and a Jason Tatum. Now, those are only dreams that you could think about. Now, the Rockets took that chance. They passed on Ben Simmons because I think Daryl Morey, I think he wanted to play out the season a little longer. And, because, I know the Philadelphia 76ers, a lot of their players they're being isolated from the team. So that probably prolonged the progress of getting a James Harden trade done, which means, this could have been done at the deadline, probably in the off season, but there was no way you're going to keep James Harden a part of this organization. After what he said 2 nights ago, there was no way. He was traded. He was out. And I'm glad. I don't think you necessarily need it. I'm not the only one who's glad. I know there's a whole bunch of Rockets fans who are just like, man, I'm glad he's gone. He's not. He might be, in the books saying that he's the second best Rocket of all time. No way. Not in my opinion. I'm not trying to sound like a hater. But look, I think it's Hakeem, maybe Moses Malone, Elvin Hayes, maybe. But, I think the rules have benefited James Harden. If he would have won one championship in the modern NBA with what he was doing, I would have said, look, he's the second best player of all time. Look, Hakeem will always be number one until he gets knocked off, until somebody brings in multiple championships. Hakeem won the MVP. In 1994, he won the MVP. All right, let's put that. The MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, the NBA Finals, and he was the NBA Finals MVP. I mean, come on, man. That is very hard to do. I'm gonna give Hakeem Olajuwon. There should be a statue of Hakeem Olajuwon, but his religion won't allow it. So there's a jersey in his honor. But man, I love Hakeem Olajuwon, and I think sometimes fans don't really talk about Hakeem Olajuwon as much. Now, I see a lot of sites like Swaggy, and Will Upton. They say, oh, I'm a James Harden fan. I don't even live in Houston. And I'm fine. Hey, there are a lot of Rockets fans who don't live in Houston. They live in Texas or they live across, the nation, whatever. I respect that. I love that. That just means, there are more Rockets fans, but they say I'm not a Rockets fan. I'm a James Harden fan, but I'm going to cover the team because, I get to be a part of the organization. That's what they feel like. No, I'm a diehard fan. I know, what player was on this team this year or last year or the prior year. I know the whole team. I remember Chase Budinger to Shane Battier, which I'm not trying to say I'm better than them. I'm just saying it's not about one player. And those diehard James Harden fans who stick up for him for, manipulating the game or, collapsing in the playoffs, he said, I gave everything to this city. I mean, like Shaq said, well, the stats speak for itself. You didn't show up in game sevens a lot of times. I mean, in that game 7 versus the Warriors, where were you, bro? I mean, you weren't there. Versus the Spurs, where were you? Versus Portland, where were you? I mean, I could go on. The list goes on. He made the playoffs 8 years. That's 8 years with the Rockets. Every year he was here, there's an excuse for every year. Every year there was an excuse. And I'm not trying to bash him. Like, I'm being honest. Like, as a Rockets fan, I'm relieved. Like, the only way you get better is, okay, you have a superstar and you trade him. That's how you get better, and you get picks. Now, you might want to inherit a young player like a Ben Simmons, but picks is the best way to go because Ben Simmons might not even fit into this team. This team wasn't built around Ben Simmons. This team wasn't built around John Wall. It was built around James Harden. So bringing in a Ben Simmons is, kind of like a head scratcher. Now Silas has to figure out, okay, how do I fit Ben Simmons to this offense and John Wall, two non-shooters? I mean, you kind of want to put Ben Simmons at the power forward position. He's a point guard. He's like a point forward. So I really didn't see where Ben Simmons fits in if the Philadelphia 76ers weren't giving up Maxey or et cetera. So I'm glad they made the Brooklyn trade. I don't know. Like I said, I won't know, and the Rockets fans won't know what the outcome will be until several years after they didn't use all the Brooklyn picks and their pick swaps. And, once this process plays out. But I think this will be a 2 to 3 year process of rebuilding. And then after that, I see the Rockets really being competitive again, kind of like that Denver team. Denver, when they lost Anthony, they're kind of like in no man's land. They're still competitive, but they had a lot of picks. So every year I felt like, they had a chance to get better. If they just, like I said, you can get better if you draft right. That's all it is. And then this is a big city. So you draft right, you make the right signings, and maybe you could suck in it. You could bring in like a top free agent, but that's a long shot. You don't have James Harden no more. When you had James Harden, before you had James Harden, Dwight Howard didn't want to come here. Before you had James Harden, Chris Paul was a part of a trade involved with the Lakers, Rockets, and New Orleans, and Chris Paul didn't want to come here as well. So once you got James Harden free, big names wanted to come here. Now they're a little past their prime, but they eventually found their way back to Houston. And I guess, the Rockets showing interest. What they always kept that in the back of their mind that, they wanted to come here. So they had love for the city and the city had love for them. So Dwight Howard ended up finding his way back. Chris Paul ended up finding his way back. I never expected us to get John Wall, not even Russ. I felt like it was a possibility since they're such good friends, James and Russ. So, I didn't expect to get John Wall. I never did. I knew he had one of the worst. I remember playing 2K, and the only person that would trade for Russ was Washington for John Wall. So I'm very happy that we have John Wall. We won that trade. When I say we won that trade, we won it by a landslide. Because Washington thought they won that trade right away. They gave up a draft pick, and it's a very great draft pick that we have. So we got a draft pick, and we got the better player. Russell Westbrook has went to Washington, and he's kind of messed that team up, which they really didn't have an identity before that. So he made it worse, if you want to say. I don't necessarily. He probably made it better because they were even worse last year. So I think the expectations were higher because that backcourt was so, dynamic with Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. But, as you saw, you don't necessarily need a strong backcourt to win a championship. What you need is, in my opinion, either a forward or a small forward, a solid center like Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot of talent, but, and they have the right pieces, but I think they're a little too young still. But I think they're a team that's going to be very competitive in that Eastern Conference for a long time. So I do think, I do think Washington was kind of like jumping the gun when they traded for Russ. But like I said, the Rockets won the trade, and it shows right now. They had to prove me wrong. Like they had to actually make the playoffs, which I don't think they will. And the bad thing is the Rockets don't have their pick till like 2000. They have their picks for like 2014, 2024, 2026, 2027, but it's like whatever the Rockets want to cash it in. So they have their picks for like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and then that final year it will be it will go down to, instead of a first round pick, it will be two second round draft picks. So they have to use out of those years, so they have a 4 year gap. So out of those 3 years, they have to use the best available first round draft pick that they want from the Wizards. And if they don't use that between those 3 years, that final year, it will become 2 second round draft picks and they automatically get it, so, they're going to get something. But the way the Wizards are going right now, I see them bad for a long time. They lost Thomas Bryant with the ACL tear. Russell Westbrook is injured. So all these draft picks that are accumulating for Rafael Stone, the Rockets, look, and you could trade that Washington draft pick. Now, I wouldn't trade it, but you could trade it for a Michael Porter Jr. That's what Rafael Stone has. He has all these picks, and we haven't had picks in a long time. We have a lot of them. We have so many. So the Rockets could start drafting, trading. Look, this team will be dangerous. I promise you. There's two teams that are going to be very dangerous in the Western Conference. That's Oklahoma City, which I don't really see them. They don't really have a guy right now. Maybe I think his name is Alexander, or I forget his name, but they have one player. So the Rockets are sitting in the same boat as the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have one face of the franchise, one straight up face. That's Christian Wood and Alex. I forget his name though, but he's irrelevant. But we are in the same boat as the Thunder, but we'll be very dangerous. Both of those teams, because they're ran very well, and the Rockets and Oklahoma City will find themselves back in the playoff picture, maybe even a championship team. I'm telling you, because LeBron James is going to retire soon. So, I mean, it's best that you traded James Harden. LeBron James is going to retire sooner or later. I mean, he has 4 years max. And, I love LeBron, and I respect everything that he did. But, you can't fight Father Time. So sooner or later, he's going to have to retire. I don't see Anthony Davis playing with the LA Lakers for the rest of his career. I just don't. I think he sticks his contract out, and then he leaves. Marcus Gasol is going to retire. Montrezl Harrell is like on a 1 year deal. So I say this team for the Lakers is probably maybe at max is going to be together for 4 more years. And then you have these young teams coming up I picture the Rockets making a comeback 2 or 3 years now, but I see them as a championship team down like 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And that's the thing. You want to be set up long term. You want to have a chance at a title for years, decades. You had a chance at a title for 8 years. So now it's the next decade. You want to stay competitive. You don't want to be like Cleveland. Oh, we're competitive for a championship. Now we suck. We fell off the face of the earth. Look, you want to be like Miami. Miami has won a championship almost every decade, or has been to the finals every decade, which that's the model of what you want to, copy yourself as an organization. You want to be like the Spurs. I don't think the Spurs are going to be competitive for a long time, though, but they're competitive for like 25 years. So that's what you want to copy yourself as. You want to copy yourself as more like Miami. I see the Rockets, fitting that mode, even though they're not a championship in the last several years. But I see them more as, being competitive every certain amount of years and then falling off and then bouncing back up. And that's what you want to see with the Rockets. You want them to take that route of the Miami. And I think for the Spurs, man, that's unheard of. They're one of the best organizations. We beat them tonight, and I'm happy. But it's hard to mold yourself after the Spurs, at least if you're like the Lakers. Even they had their little downfall. So even with Kobe Bryant, they had their downfall. So they had Lamar Odom. Once they traded Shaq, they were bad for a few years. But like I said, I see the Rockets being very, very competitive down the road. It just takes that one pick. It just takes the owner to make the right moves. Like I said, Brooklyn long term, I really don't see Brooklyn competitive. Like, they have an opportunity to win a championship this year and next year. That's it. Because it's just their contracts. I don't see Kevin Durant staying there for that long. Now, What does Kevin Durant do? I don't know. Do you think we'll flip Victor Oladipo and PJ Tucker for picks at the deadline? Yeah, I do. Like, look, I talked about it earlier. If you joining us again, yeah, I do see the Rockets making a lot of moves. We're in a rebuild mode. The Rockets won't admit it, but they're in a real rebuild mode. Now, I think they have the perfect coach. Unfortunately, Coach Silas is suspected to have Russ and James Harden, and it's a very unfortunate. But there is no other person that held himself to a higher standard, and I think Silas has gotten a lot of respect from his players. The way things have turned out between the James Harden situation. Now, when I say that he has more respect from the players, that's very important. From the organization, they respect Silas. That's why I even said when Silas stepped foot in this building, he was going to be the face of the organization and the franchise. It wasn't going to be a player no more. He's leading the way. You can never, ever, as a Rockets fan, you can never, ever give the keys to a player like you did to James Harden again. Never. I mean, only if you come across a young, talented player, and yes, you label him like Jason Tatum. You give him that label, but you don't allow him to make big moves and say, hey, look, I want to play with my friend. I want to play with so-and-so. You don't give that. You don't allow a player to do that. That's kind of like even Deshaun Watson, who's with a bad organization, and I know this is football I'm talking about, but Deshaun Watson only wants to be a part of the coaching changes and not even trying to bring his buddies in. Maybe he does, but, that's just the way things work. But James Harden had the keys to the city. He did whatever he wanted. He got guys traded. He got guys fired. He got Kevin McHale fired. He didn't talk to Kevin McHale. He's your coach. So you're not talking to your coach? That doesn't make sense to me. Kevin McHale was your coach. You blackballed him. You got him fired. You did whatever you wanted. You came late to practice. You went out after games. There was only 1 year you took serious. That was 2017, and that was because Chris Paul, was the leader of the team. So as of right now, I'm glad James Harden's gone. You don't need that kind of player around the team. He's a bad influence. He's very talented. He reminds me of George. Look, I watch a lot of basketball, and George Gervin is a player from the 70s. I know who George Gervin is. He's the Iceman. He's known who developed the finger roll. If you don't know what the finger roll is, look, kids, go to your hoop, do the prettiest layup you can do. That's George Gervin. George Gervin used to do the prettiest layup. They called it, ice. It was so icy, When you see a finger roll now, it's very rare. But that finger roll was made by George Gervin. And when I compare George Gervin to James Harden, George Gervin had all the moves. He led the league maybe 4 years in a row, but he didn't have no championships. He was very well respected, even by Michael Jordan. He ended up playing with Michael Jordan his final year. I think Michael Jordan was taking all these little nitpicks out of his head. Like, hey, how do I do this, George? How do I do that? Where can I score? Where's my best position to score? What if, somebody's playing me like this zone or whatever? Whatever the case is, Michael Jordan picked the brain of George Gervin. And that's what James Harden reminds me of, George Gervin. Just a beautiful scorer. I don't even compare James Harden to a beautiful scorer. There's just sometimes I watched him. He's so fluent, I guess I was bored. That's just me being selfish. When the Rockets, when their next player, their leading scorer is averaging 20 points a game, I'm going to miss those 40 points. It's just how he got those 40 points sometimes where I was just like, oh, okay, okay. There was a streak where he went on for like 20 games, averaging like 40 to 30 points a game, getting 30 to 40. Until he almost averaged like almost 40 points a game. And, I give him credit. He is the best scorer in the modern history, and he'll be known as one of the best scorers all time. That is legit. Now, do I think he's a better scorer than Kevin Durant? No, hell no. I don't think that, because Kevin Durant can pull up on anybody and score from any part of the court. Kevin Durant is the best scorer in the NBA, and in my opinion, he's probably, look, I hate to say this, but he's a better scorer than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the most clutch player ever. But, and I don't want to say that. It's just Kevin Durant could score anywhere. So that's the thing. He could score on a big man. He could score in the paint. He could score from the three-point line. He could get to the free throw line. Michael Jordan was, he had a back down game, especially with the goddamn Wizards. Man, that's all he did. He was backing down players because he couldn't beat them on the dribble no more. So Michael Jordan, he did that Kobe Bryant. That's what a lot of players do when they get older. They back a player down on the perimeter around the 15 feet away from the basket, maybe 17 feet, and they shoot a fadeaway. And, that's what older players do. It's an efficient shot for an older player. Like I said, you've seen Chris Paul do that a lot. Now, look, we shouldn't have traded Chris Paul because I only say this about Chris Paul because, he's a Rocket, and I'm talking about backing down. Chris Paul can beat his man off the dribble. Now, does that necessarily say he's worthless? No, because Chris Paul he doesn't necessarily have to beat his man off the dribble. That's what I said earlier. James Harden he would step back and allow other players, other stars to do their thing. And I respect that, but you need to move around. Like I said, Chris Paul couldn't beat his man off the dribble, but he could distribute. He could set guys up in perfect positions to score. And that's what Chris Paul could have done. Now, it's not about beating your man off the dribble. Look, Steve Francis once said, you could beat your man off the dribble. It's what you do next. You don't have to necessarily beat your man off the dribble. Chris Paul has the mind of a genius. He's the best. He's a point guard. So I felt like when they traded Chris Paul, I was like, oh, okay, for Russ. And we still had Clint. We still had a certain amount of players where I was confident enough to say, this could be a competitive team, but obviously you've seen things went a different route. Congrats on those 50 subs. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I couldn't have done it without y'all. I put in a lot of hard work. I put in a lot of, my voice into people's ears, but, I couldn't have done it without y'all. One day I'm going to get 1,000 subscribers. I promise that I'm going to put in the hard work. I won't stop. I work all day and I come here and I try to put on the best performance I can. Literally, there's no more important thing besides my family and coming home to see them all happy, and then coming on here to see y'all. I don't see our faces, but you know what I mean. I do talk to a lot of y'all individually daily, and I like I said, I lost Anthony, but hopefully he comes back. He was a big part of the show. He was a co-host. But like I said, I'm looking for a co-host to grow with. It's not about me. It's about the team. John Wall will go hard this season. And thank you for subscribing, Angel. What's up, man? Appreciate you joining the show. I'm here to answer questions. Like I said, I'm already an hour in with this show. But like I said, this weekend I'll be off. And my big goal is just to try to go to a game and broadcast it live. That's my biggest thing next. I don't know how many livers I would get, people tuning in. But like I said, I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to enjoy talking to y'all while I'm live at the game. Like I said, I'm not like Swaggy. I'm not like Will Upton. I'm a real Houstonian Rockets supporter. I don't root for one individual player. If a player leaves, I'm not going to leave. If a player comes, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to support them. I support this team inside out. I'm H-Town till I die. You know what I mean? Like Joe Green said, I die for this city, for real. Like, I love my city. I work downtown. I worked in Hobby Airport, but that's one of the best places I work. But working downtown with that environment, I love it. I worked at downtown for 2 years. I left. I came back. I had to go back downtown because I love Houston. I love walking around the Toyota Center. I love walking around, the beautiful parks around downtown. I just, I love it. I worked at a bar. Now I work somewhere else. I work at a restaurant. And, I love engaging. I'm 2 blocks from the Toyota Center. So like I said, I'm going to pass out little goodie bags as much as I can with my information and with some of my co-hosts. That's what I said. I wanted Anthony to be a part of the show, but to my next co-host, who was a part of this show, like I said, if y'all don't know, Anthony's not a part of the show no more. As of right now, I'm not too sure because I put something on Bleacher Report looking for a co-host, and I'm looking for one that I can vibe on and feed off and support, and we could support me. Like I said, I appreciate y'all. I might end it here soon. H-Town, baby. Yeah, I agree. Let me know your thoughts, comments, subscribe if y'all haven't already. It's very important that I get those subscribes, not for money, because I don't even have 1,000 subscribers, but just so I could grow. I need to grow my channel so I could put in more work. I'm always going to put in the work. That's not a question, but I could get myself out there and really, never forget the people who put me on top. But like I said, it's all about Rockets, and I'm not so diverse. I'm not closed in. I talk about football, I talk about basketball, and look, the playoffs are coming. Look, there's a few playoff games this weekend in the NFL where you can talk about predictions. I'm not rooting for nobody in particular. I just want to see some great football. I think my picks so far have been Seahawks. They're really Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks have been eliminated, and then I predicted the Chiefs. So let's see if they get eliminated. It usually happens to me when I predict a team. The Rams, they had a big upset. So the Rams, I see the Rams losing this week. Like I said, Jared Goff, he's unpredictable, but that defense is pretty solid. And I know the Texans had an interview with one of their defensive coordinators. I don't know if it's their defensive line coach, their defensive backs, or the defensive coach, the head coach for the defensive team. So I'm not too sure, but whatever the Rams are doing, they're doing something right. So, like I said, my prediction now, I got to go with the Chiefs still. Like, I'm not sleeping on the Ravens. So Lamar Jackson is a beast. He's just a different type of animal, but he's not Lamar Jackson, but he is in his own field. He does things that Patrick Mahomes can do, and he does things that he can do, and it's vice versa. So, like I said, look, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, but it's any given Sunday, so anything is possible. I still see the Chiefs making it out the playoffs into the Super Bowl. I think the only team that was a real threat to them was Tennessee, just due to the fact because they could run the ball. And they could run the ball better than any team in the NFL. And that is true. But, I don't really see Cleveland making it. I can see the Ravens getting to the next round. But like I said, it's going to be great. I'm ready to tune in. I'm off this weekend. So I'm going to cover the Rockets versus the Spurs. I think they play again Saturday. That's at 4 o'clock. So I'll go live, and I'll be on 2 laptops. I'll be on the iPad. I'll be on the phone. Like I said, I'm looking for a co-host. And then Sunday, I'll cover a few football games, and I'm very eager about that because it's playoffs. I have let's see if I'm wrong. Chiefs versus I'll pick a new team. Like I said, I'm gonna go with we got Tampa Bay versus the Saints, and then you got the Rams versus who's the next team? The Rams are playing. Oh man, they're slipping my mind. Oh man. Well, whatever. I'm picking the Saints. Saints versus the Chiefs. Man, Green Bay. Man, I'm gonna say Green Bay versus the Chiefs. That'll be an amazing Super Bowl. You'll have Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. The past. That's what Green Bay thinks of Aaron Rodgers. The past versus the future. I didn't say it. Green Bay did. Obviously, they drafted a quarterback. Yeah, Tampa Bay has Antonio Brown, but I know, man. Look, Tampa Bay has Antonio Brown, but that's not necessarily saying you're going to win. They have a lot of players. It's just Tom Brady at times looks old, and that's what he is. So it's just kind of weird what the Saints do. They put out like 2 quarterbacks, and they still have Jameis Winston out there. So they have another quarterback. I forget his name, number 7. He moves around like he's Lamar Jackson, and then they have they have Drew Brees, and they have, like I said, Winston. So I really don't necessarily know if Winston actually gets playing time, but I do know they're playing their backup quarterback at times. Yeah, Hill. Thank you. I appreciate that, Angel. Like I said, I'm gonna pick Green Bay versus the Chiefs. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hill. Like I said, stay tuned. I'm gonna make a video in the morning. So look, I'm here right now. I gotta wake up. I gotta go to work at 10, but I'm gonna wake up really early. I'm gonna make a video covering the Rockets, breaking down everything I see, and I'm gonna have that video up in the morning. Go to work, come home, see if anything happens in particular with sports. But I'm mainly gonna cover everything this weekend. Remember, like, subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the comments. Like I said, this channel is only going to grow, and I know it because I'm putting in the work. I'm putting out the word, and tell people to subscribe. Tell people to like. I'm not putting out BS. Hey, thank y'all. Appreciate it.